Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I am so happy to be here on this spring equinox time, the time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, really any time in the world, I think, where the day and the night time hours are close to being the same. And in the ancient world, and certainly in some of the Celtic mysticism that I have practiced and studied, the spring equinox is a time of renewal and rebirth. It is a time of really looking at, for ourselves as human beings, what are some of the habit energies that I'm ready to shift out of? And please keep in mind, friends, that a little bit like a snake or a little bit like a butterfly emerging from a cocoon, the process of letting go of habit energy, shedding habit energy completely, takes time. And I think the cocoon, the butterfly or the moth emerging from a cocoon is a really wonderful metaphor, because for anybody who is aware, if there's any interference in that slow process of emergence, there is damage to the butterfly's wings, creating the conditions where that living being can no longer fly. And so you really don't want to mess with it. You don't want to interfere. You don't want to push it. You want to let this living being know what it knows. It knows when to come out of the cocoon. It knows how to slowly emerge. Same with a snake. It knows how to rub in certain parts of its body to shed its skin. And so, this is an invitation for each of us to recognize and to come into our own knowing that we know what is best for ourselves. Now, I'm going to add something here, because there may be a habit energy of thought or storytelling that says, yeah, but I've had a history of making the same mistake over and over again, and so I don't really know that I can trust myself. And friends, if that voice is alive in you, there's a wonderful way to respond to it. And that is to say, well, that's true, and not the whole truth. That's how we can use that instrument of peace, that mantra. That's true. I do have a history of repeating the same old thing to the point that I believe I can't trust myself. That is true. And it's not the whole truth. So, what else is true? And so, that question, asking that question, what else is true, then invites us into the awareness of the second noble truth. What are the conditions of my negative habit energy? Have I been approaching my negative habit energy the same way over and over? Therefore, why am I surprised that I have the same results over and over? Have I even bothered to look at the conditions surrounding my habit energy and the conditions surrounding the ways I'm trying to recover or heal from my habit energies? Maybe if I shift the conditions a little bit, something will change. Maybe like a snake, you know, moving ever so slithery S shape into a different area along some rough edged granite that will help flake off some of the dead skin. Maybe that would help the snake. Maybe if I do something slightly different. Maybe if I talk to myself with less aggression, violence, diminishment. Maybe if I stop berating myself a little bit and bring forward a voice of nurturance and encouragement and care. Maybe that would shift the conditions enough where something new, some kind of habit energy will begin to slough off. Maybe not completely, but a little bit. Maybe there will be a little bit of new emergence. That's what we're going for. That's what the season calls for. A slow, gentle emergence. Some new vulnerability coming forward into the light, inviting us to bring forward our sense of nurturance, our spirit of compassion, elements of joy and innocence and wonder. That's what the spring equinox, the energy of the spring equinox is. Our ancestors knew it. They lived by it. They developed mythologies all around it. They planted their livelihoods around it. And in our contemporary world, with all of its clang and volatility, we would benefit from returning once in a while to the wisdom of our ancestors. Get back in touch with the rhythms of nature, for indeed they mirror the rhythms within our own natures. So today, as we explore the third noble truth, there is an end to the misery that we experience in our lives. It's a moment to moment gig. But if we can understand what our suffering and what our misery looks like, feels like, tastes like, and if we can understand the conditions causing it, then we can certainly understand its remedies and apply those remedies so that we can experience its end. We can experience a moment of peace, a feeling of harmony. To do that, the Buddha created the Noble Eightfold Path. So there are these 8 aspects, there are these 8 very strong elements that we can turn to at any time. We can turn to understanding. We can turn to what is my intention and motivation today? What are my actions? What have I been doing with myself? How do I speak? What's the tone I use? What are the words I use? Is my speech another habit energy? If I'm honest, what kind of effort am I putting forth? It varies day to day, but can I be honest about that? Furthermore, how am I living my precious human life? How do I allow mindfulness to frame my moments? Mindfulness is nothing more than present time awareness. So, how do I come into my moment? Am I reactive and automatic, which is a habit energy? Or do I take a moment to pause and breathe? What's my level of concentration? It's very human to experience attention deficits, particularly in this clanging world of ours. And so we have to practice and train the mind to increase its level of concentration and to understand when our attention goes into deficit. Noble Eightfold Path. This is a virtuous way of bringing more peace and harmony into our moments. Today, we're going to bring forward a very specific form of meditation that I learned through Pema Chodron's work. And it's a very ancient type of practice. It's called Tonglen. And Tonglen is a style of meditation practice that uses and concentrates the attention with the breath, and it focuses the mind and the thought stream on two very distinct things. One is the recognition of suffering in all of its forms. The other is the capacity to generate harmony, peace, ease. Both exist in me. Both define the nature of reality. Two sides to the same coin, two sides to the yin yang. This duality permeates our realities. And so to breathe that into the wholeness of one's being is a really powerful practice. And then to cultivate an intention where while we're breathing in and recognizing misery and pain, confusion, and so on, we are breathing out this limitless essence of loving kindness. Let's use the four limitless qualities: loving kindness, compassion, joy, inclusivity, what's often referred to as equanimity. That's going to be our practice today. I love this practice. I'd like to add another instrument of peace to this practice, and it's an instrument of peace that is called just like me. Friends, bring your awareness and your full attention to your body. This is going to be the anchor of our practice today. And see if you can imagine an anchor that is of nature. So, for instance, it could be a big boulder, it could be a majestic tree rooting fully into the earth. It could be a piece of driftwood that has landed on a beach and sunken in. Just something that you can find some solidity and stability in. And imagine that as your body. And sit in a way where the core of your body has lots of space to move. So we're going to be breathing in and exhaling. So we're going to be expanding the core of the body, front and back. And we're going to be contracting the body, front and back. So take a moment, take a couple of deep breaths, allow a stabilizing image to bring joy to your imagination, and breathe in and out. Now, let's imagine in a very generalized way a person or maybe even a personality that stirs up feelings of aversion. I know when I'm feeling aversive because the word that erupts in my mind is ew. Uh, ew. Yuck. look at that person. And then all of a sudden, I'm in the middle of a story, and the story's pretty judgmental and often really harsh, and it's quick. It happens so fast. Ew, I can't believe they're thinking that. I can't believe they said that. I can't believe how aggressive and hostile and I can't believe how much hypocrisy I'm seeing in this person. Ew, 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 ew. Not a pleasant feeling. Lots of suffering there, lots of misery there, lots of judgment there. And it's there not only in this person or people, you can even have it be a group, it doesn't matter, but it's also in me. You know, as a human being, just like me, I have the capacity for aggression, hostility, hypocrisy, greed, all of it. It may not be to the same extremes, but it's nevertheless there. It is a place for me to pay attention, to practice. And so when I see it in those extremes, I feel it in my mind and body. So, with great courage, breathe it in. Breathe it in fully, almost like a toxic scent. It won't harm you. And it won't harm you because of the stability of nature that you have embodied, that I have embodied. I'm stronger than I realize. I'm often stronger than I know. So I'm going to breathe that in. And on the out breath, I'm going to breathe out, almost blow out like a gentle wave of kisses. May you have ease. May you have clarity. May you find avenues of peace. May I have ease. May I find avenues of peace. May I find clarity. Breathing in that toxic misery. Breathing out settled clarity. Breathing in the capacity to harm. It's an awful feeling. Breathing out the capacity to pause and do something different. Breathing in confusion. Breathing out trust in another's perspective to help see clearly. Breathing in the inevitable illness, ache, pain that the body is going to experience and endure. Breathing out the capacity for the body to heal, to restore behind the scenes of awareness. Breathing in anger, rage, grief, fear. Breathing out openness, softness, compassion. Breathing in hard, defensive posturing. Breathing out courageous vulnerability. Breathing in hiding. Breathing out being seen. I could go on and on, friends. I wanted to give you many different examples to encourage your own wisdom. And within the last few minutes remaining, I'd like to create some very, very deep silence. Because sometimes new wisdom that's emerging is shy. So listen deeply, and follow your own guidance. It knows the way. Enjoy your practice. I'd like to take a step toward the conclusion of our practice today, friends, by chanting slash singing a single verse from a song that I really love, and it's called The Grandmother's Song. And it's a perfect song for this time of year and bringing forward the wisdom of the sacred feminine. And it's a real invitation here, friends, to listen deeply, to wake up to nature as nature is waking up, and see yourself mirrored everywhere in the beauty, mystery, and wonder of what's around you. So it goes like this. I hear the song of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the song of my grandmother say, wake up, child, wake up, listen, 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 listen. Hope you enjoyed that wonderful grandmother's song, that beautiful first verse. Yeah, you like that? Okay, I'm going to sing the whole thing for you. And that's going to be our dedication of merit. And it's 4 verses. And I'm going to bring forward, since it's the spring equinox and it's the celebration of the sacred feminine, you're going to hear a call to bring forward the mother, bring forward the woman. And this is about, for those of you who are male presenting and you identify with male gender, or even any of our binary friends out there, this is a reminder that the sacred feminine is in everybody. And these are virtues of nurturance. These are virtues of bringing forward new life. This is tending to new life. This is all the ways that we bring each other in, like clucking hens, bring our brood in, bring our community in, and hold them tight. This is the virtues of creativity that are designed for peacemaking far and wide. So this is for that. And this is a really wonderful call to listen. So you'll hear that chorus and you'll go in your day and you'll just be like, right, listen, listen. So I'm just going to close my eyes and take a deep breath. This is the grandmother's song. Oh, and you'll hear a word in here that you might not be familiar with. This is the word wisdama, spelled Wisdama. And this is a word that I created to represent the wise woman. I hear the call of my let me start over. It's the song. All right, here we go. Scratch that. I hear the song of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the song of my grandmother say, wake up, child, wake up, listen, 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 listen. I hear the song of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the song of my grandmother say, give birth, bring life, woman, give birth, bring life. Listen, 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 listen. I hear the song of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the song of my grandmother say, stand in your power, woman, stand in your power. Listen, 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 listen. I hear the song of my grandmother's calling me. I hear the song of my grandmother say, teach and share wisdom, wisdama, teach and share wisdom. Listen, 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 listen. Friends, listen, listen. See you next time.